Hello and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast on the internet that has the science and the screaming and the spookiness and the terror and the chills to determine what is the single greatest horror movie of very specifically 1985. Now, we are going to do every month of 1985. We're not going to hone in on one specific 30-day period, or 31 or 28. Sorry, or sometimes 29. Was 85 a leap year? Nobody knows.
Yes.
Tonight is a very, very special night because we are going to not only finally choose what the number one horror movie of 1985 was, the movie of the year, but also give out awards. Tompkins, as we said every week, none of these movies were nominated for Oscars, so tonight they're going to get something better than Oscars. Are you excited?
Yes. Should I say how excited?
Yeah.
Very.
Okay. Give me 2 words.
Very, very.
Okay. Now give me 1 word that is not very.
Very, very.
Yes, very varied. Thank you. Tompkins, we could not do this on our own.
Very.
Oh, good. Okay. I'm glad you cleared that up. We could not do this on our own. As we've done none of this on our own. We've had special guests all throughout this little mini bonus season. But tonight, I would say we're going to have a guest that is not as special, I would say. It's Mike. It's Pop Filter's Mike.
Why am I not special?
I just realized we missed a golden opportunity to piss a lot of people off by having one of the Moody's be best guest.
Oh, yeah. We should have.
It's Mike. That's why you asked me back. That was an off-air award, and then I won, so I'm here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's basically comes down to 2 things, Tompkins. Either Mike was the best guest, and that's why we asked him back, or he is the only one who would watch all the movies in order to vote in the award show.
And I wonder which one it is.
I watched them in order yesterday, so I'm ready to go.
8 movies yesterday?
8 movies yesterday in order of what I thought their importance was.
That's perfect. That's how movies should be watched.
So I got to tell you, there's some that I barely remember.
Tompkins, you and I have been discussing the horror of 1985 for years at this point. So, Mike, why don't you tell us, what do you think of the year? Was it a strong one?
I think having watched them all and listened to you guys talk about them, and you're like, maybe 85 sucked. It's with a genre even one as popular as horror. I think there's a lot of dog shit in there, but the strong that's in here is really fucking strong. And there's some template creating movies in this bracket that movies still today are doing the things they created in 85.
Okay, yeah. So
For
that
instance,
sounds more positive than we sound.
scary.
But that sounds more positive than we were, but I don't know, maybe it's because this has gone so long. It's been so drawn out, and we had to focus for so long on each of the terrible, terrible movies. Maybe we're just fucked in the head.
Yeah,
Like,
I did
we're
not
dead.
dedicate my life of COVID to this because you guys went, wow, the world outside is bad. I should probably make my life equally as bad. Let's dig in.
Yeah, I wish I died of COVID.
And wouldn't that be spooky?
Maybe by the end of the show.
Now, typically in award shows, this is the time where I tell you guys by the numbers, I go through and like who got nominated for what or how many Moody's each of these movies got nominated for. I'm not going to do that because I think it reveals too much about what we think about things. And so I'm just going to leave that secret for now. But I will say that of the 8 movies that are up for grabs here, all 8 of them were nominated for at least 1 Moody. So is that surprising?
No. They all offered something. And I can't remember the awards right now, but I'm sure there was a dumbest dumb shit waste of our time award.
There actually wasn't like a real derogatory one.
Yeah.
Oh, what's the point? That's our point of awards at Pop Filter.
That's the Razzies territory, man. We don't want to be stepping on their toes.
No, our thing is both. We do the Oscars and the Razzies.
Who razzes the Razzies?
We do. I wouldn't have been too surprised if, spoiler alert, Friday the 13th Part 5 did not get any nominations, but there would have been a few that were like borderline still. But because we're such, yes, a new beginning, a new hope. But because we're such good impartial judges, we tossed them a bone.
Well, apparently we thought that they did something right, and yeah, I can't remember what the awards are either. But eventually we'll get to it. When we're going through the nominees, and I say Friday the 13th, Part 5: A New Beginning, then you guys be like, "Oh, that's the one Friday the 13th was nominated for."
The one
we'll all remember. But I mean, I do have to say though that it was still talked about a lot through the season. It being so egregiously terrible really did give it a lot of juice throughout all of the episodes.
Yeah, I think there's some films that have been forgotten in the season because they're just like, whatever, forgettable. Like, never be forgettable. Be so bad it leaves a taste of copper in the watcher's mouth.
I will. We almost used it to like ad hoc create a stat that is not like wins above replacement. It's like wins above absolute piece of dog shit. Because we were constantly measuring things by like how much better they were than this, whether it was like a little or a lot. It became a real touchstone.
And not just even like the movies that came after it, but like getting kicked in the balls. Yeah. Like that wasn't Friday the 13th Part 5. So
yeah. 4 stars.
All right, guys, well, we have, as is our responsibility, our duty, we have some movies to destroy. We have some movies to kick out of the bracket, never to be heard from again. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to kick out one of those movies. Round 1, Battle 1.
Ooh.
Your number 1 seed is The Re-Animator. Your number 8 seed is Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning.
I think there's a reason they both have equal cult following. They both are, in a sense, a beginning.
Yeah.
Speak on that.
Re-Animator began the Re-Animator-verse, which every 15 years they made another one. But people fucking champed at the bit for it, and Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning began people saying, what if we don't need more of these? No, you're going to keep giving them to us? That's cool, too.
I guess we'll go see them then.
Yeah. I have no choice. I guess it's time to talk about Friday the 13th, Part 5, and to, dare I say, eulogize it. What is there to say about this movie?
Well, Mike, it has become legendary around these parts. You've seen probably more 80s horror movies than me and Tompkins put together. Are we correct here in like our absolute despise for this movie?
Yeah, what this movie does wrong, and like the 80s churned out a lot of schlock, right? And what this does wrong is it is not memorable schlock. It's not fun. You can't really get titillated. It has no understanding of tension or the cult of Jason. So what the fuck are we here for?
Yeah. And even the scenes that in a better, worse movie would have been memorable, like the 50s guys, like the rednecks, the things where it's trying to be like, here's something for you. It was all so flat and porny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like, oh, we'll just be a little weird here, and that'll make people remember us, instead of like digging into the weird. Like, let us really sit in that weird. Why are these 50s guys in their 50s?
Don't wet our weird. I think that a part of it too is like it really speaks to how important the structure of movies and screenwriting is. And you think that, if it's bad, if it's good bad, then it can be bad on every level. But for most of the movies that are so bad they're good, they still have a basic like fundamental understanding of how stories are told and how movies work. And this movie doesn't. It just is like the pacing is, it's not just that it's slow, it's so fucking all over the place that it's impossible to sit through. It's like seeing a color that you've never seen before. Like, that's disgusting. I don't know what to make of this.
This color sucks. It feels like at this point they knew kids were going to either be at the drive-in feeling up each other's tits, or at like, maybe VHS was like just big, right? So they'd be at a house and they're like, okay, let's punish them because they're not going to pay attention. So we won't try either. Like, instead of trying to make the kids pay attention, they're just like, fuck you then.
If you look
Mike, we've only been going out for 2 months. I don't know if we're ready to start feeling up each other's tits.
I think we are.
I think it's time to take that step, baby.
Sorry, Tompkins, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that Mike and I have only been going out for 2 months, and I'm not sure if we're ready to start feeling up each other.
Well, we should have said that at the same time.
Yeah. And now is where you find out I've been dating both of you for 2 months.
Yeah, I guess, speaking to your point, Mike, what it is then, I guess, I think what they made is a horror movie that you can play in the background of other movies that have a horror movie being played in the background.
Right.
You know, like
they're like, that's how we'll make our money.
If you have characters that go to the theater in your movie, and for like a second or two you see the movie screen, here's something you can put on there. It's just endless garbage of just random horror shit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Immediate stock footage sales, yeah.
I'm sure Jamie Kennedy has yelled about the rules of horror movies over this film at some point.
When you look at like The Room or Troll 2, like famously good bad movies that have a cult following and that people love, you know, what you were talking about, you know, like structure, I would say that those are movies that either somehow wind up following enough of a structure that all of the crazy bad stuff still kind of gets strung together in a way that you can track, or they fuck with structure in a way that's like so wrong it grabs your eye. And this movie just like stumbles over its dick for like an hour and a half. There's nothing even close to like enough of a decision that it could stand out. It's just scenes that happen to occur next to each other.
And then on top of all of that, with like a very clear misunderstanding of how movies are written and shot and edited, they then make the decision of, we're going to have this mystery thing where we don't know who Jason is, but you should have solved it. It was the ambulance driver in the beginning who who had to go and pick up his fat son after being murdered. How did you not guess that? Also, by the way, right at the end, the main character also might be Jason. We don't know. Frankly, we don't want to know.
Yeah. If you're going to do a mystery, there has to be clues. You have to make people hungry for the mystery and slowly putting it together. And the red herring shouldn't come at the very end. Like, that's not when you're like, you got it wrong. Like, it does feel like Christopher Nolan watched this and then was like, I could do this better, and made Inception. A string of scenes that don't really fit together, and at the end people are confused. And
Inception was better. Yeah?
Yeah, those scenes were better than these scenes, but it's still not a good movie.
All right, guys. On the flip side, it's going against a movie called The RE-ANIMATOR. It is the #1 seed. Do you guys feel like you guys have your fingers on the pulse of the 1985 horror world, specifically as it relates to Pop Filter in this show? You know, you guys have been talking to the fans. You guys have been at the conventions on the ground floor. Do we feel the groundswell for RE-ANIMATOR, or does it not seem like that big of a deal?
I know that there is a groundswell, and I did rewatch it, keeping an open mind, as I famously always do. But I don't consider it the #1 seed still. I would put a different movie as the #1 seed, and I would put this slightly lower.
Okay, so it is the #1 seed. It's just, it's not what you hope wins.
Yes.
But I don't know.
I think it's were the Clippers the #1 seed this year?
They were not. They were #3.
So it's more of a #3 seed because it's gonna lose.
Cool, man. That hurts me in two different ways.
That's what he meant to do. I fully understand why it's the #1 seed, and I do think the fervor for this movie died down. Like, when you talk to horror people, even like 5-10 years ago, I think there was a little more energy for it. And I think some of our other films, the energy has grown, which is why this shit is crazy. Why it's fun to do a movie 35 years later. Because if 5 years ago a movie from 85 was #1, why would that change? I don't know, guys, but it's gonna.
All right. Well, the end of this segment about RE-ANIMATOR did not go how I had hoped, so I'm going to cut this segment short. And we're going to move this to a vote. Mike, you are the less than special guest. RE-ANIMATOR or Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning?
I would say it's RE-ANIMATOR. Oh, no, I know what I don't want to say is Michael A. Nunez Jr. Shows up in 2 of her films.
Yes,
and
he does.
I think he really highlights he's not a I can make the material better. He's a rise to the occasion kind of guy. But I do think Demon is one of the best parts of Friday the 13th 5, A New Beginning.
In fact, if I can vote for RE-ANIMATOR, but then sort of salvage Michael A. Nunez out of the husk of Friday the 13th Part 5, and he kind of goes on with RE-ANIMATOR,
So it's
that
like
would be my
Sublime with
vote.
Rome. It's
Yeah.
Re-Animator with Michael.
Re-Animator with Michael A. Nunez.
I'm actually not sure that we're going to talk about him again, or like in the awards, because like with this happens in award shows, all of his votes canceled each other out because he was nominated for 2 things. But his name is Demon Winter in Friday the 13th 5, and so many life changes. Like I now don't take a dump unless my wife is standing on the other side of the door singing with me. 2 incredibly different songs that do not line up. Like this, it was a big deal. So Miguel A. Nunez Jr., I would say get ready for the Pop Filter Hall of Fame.
And you sold your house and bought a van full of mall court food, right?
Yeah, a van full of mall court.
I have one example of every single type of mall court food in my van right now.
I can't wait to drink that van temperature orange Julius.
Let me put an egg roll right in that for you, Mike, and I'm going to send you on your way. All right, so Tompkins, Re-Animator or Nightmare? Fuck! Re-Animator or Friday the 13th?
Am I, like, it's very tempting for me to
I saw the
vote.
vote.
Yeah, I know. So
You're kind of an anarchist.
Yeah, I want to vote Friday the 13th Part 5 just to
loves
put
tension.
some weight on you.
So now we all understand not only that Tompkins did vote for Trump, but why he voted for Trump. with that fucking move right there.
I'm the Joker baby.
And I will vote for the Re-Animator. Sorry, Friday the 13th Part 5, but let's say this is the last time we're going to talk about it. No, it's probably nominated for award, so I'm just going to talk about it for the rest of my fucking life. This is it. This is it for me.
Cursed you. That's the real new beginning.
Speaking of awards, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back with Best Supporting Actress. Our first award, much like the Academy Awards, is Best Supporting Actress. I just want to give each of you 5, 6, 7 minutes to just go over what you think that award entails. What do you think? Who do you think it should go to in general? Mike, we'll start with you.
I think it should probably, in general.
Well, Mike, let's split this 50-50. I'll decide what I think it means to be an actor, and you give a definition of what it means to be a woman, and then we can kind of smoosh them together.
See nothing wrong with this. Take it away.
Acting is the art of treading the boards. It is when you enter the mind and being of another person or creature, or sometimes a tea kettle, like in Beauty and the Beast, and you inhabit the role so good that people forget they're watching a cartoon movie.
So
Hey, Mike, real quick. Sorry, Tompkins interrupt, but Mike, we can see in Tompkins' glasses that he is reading this from a website, but I just want to be clear. That website is danieltompkins.com,
Yeah.
and this is something that he reads often
this
to
is
people.
his
So-
biography.
All right, Tompkins, keep going, I guess.
And so you be the other person so good that other people forget you are not the other person. And
Yeah, I straight up thought Angela Lansbury was that tea kettle.
yeah. And it was upsetting to me when I then saw her like IMDb photo, and it's just some woman.
Yeah, I want to see a tea kettle solving all those murders in that small New England town.
Well, I'm sorry,
That would be
that is what you want to see.
Yes, I would pay good money to see that.
That is exactly what Mike wants to see.
All right.
And Mike,
I like how we're explaining the first part, ACTR, and then Mike is explaining ESS, and we're just going to leave supporting there. But Mike, now explain what a woman means
Well, I
to
mean,
you.
it's fraught, right? It means it's a lot of things. I think it's
It's fraught not.
who you are internally. And how you feel you should express yourself. Yeah, I think supporting is important, especially in
There it
horror
is.
and 80s horror. It's got to be memorable. In this stuff, you're not necessarily looking for the most naturalistic actor. It's somebody who really gets the tone of the film and helps support that in all moments they're on there. The boards, as Tompkins said.
Do you think that for actresses, one of the most supporting things that they do is wear a bra because it supports those little boobies?
okay, Ryan.
What?
Yeah,
I'm
Ryan.
sorry. What?
I've read Gloria Steinem's Wikipedia, so I don't agree with that.
Did Tompkins write that too?
I think so.
One of the most supporting things an actress can do is be there for the male actor.
No, that's somehow worse than what Ryan said.
What do you mean somehow? It's very obvious why that's worse. All right.
This is why I
Let's
stick
get
to
to-
tea kettles.
Let's get to the nominees. Speaking of Fraught Knot, your first nominee is Amanda Burse from the film Fraught Knot. Mike, what do we think?
Is this who is this in Fraught Knot? I'm bad with actor names.
This is the girlfriend who is seduced by the vampire and has a little hair down in the basement scene where her face gets gross.
Oh yeah, I think that she nails, and she sells. So even if he wasn't a vampire, why she would be more into Sarandon than Charlie?
Yeah.
Because he treats her better. Like not even with the magic or anything, he just treats her more like a human being than Charlie does. But yeah, I think she gives a great performance, and she walks that line throughout the movie of how much arch and how much camp.
Was it easy for you, Tompkins, to forget that she was Marcy Darcy?
Incredibly.
It was incredibly easy.
I can forget almost anything that I want to.
What's
Good
a Marcy
job.
Darcy?
Marcy Darcy is who she played on the seminal hit Fox sitcom Married with Children. She played her for like 16 years.
Yeah.
Oh, the neighbor?
The neighbor, yeah, that's the neighbor.
The neighbor Rooney. She's great in that she had a lot of like she had to play like the nagging girlfriend at times, and I think a different actress might have revealed that as like weaker writing, but she just kind of like made it work. And yeah, then she had to play the vampire. She had to be seduced. She went through the paces in this, and I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, I think on the Fright Night show, Tom, because we talked about how, because the movie wasn't super interested in girls, as we talked about, and that it was like a last minute entry into the script. The screenwriter was like, "Oh fuck, there's no girls in here," and just whipped her into there in like 2 hours. And I would say it came out pretty good for that. Because, yeah, I agree. She goes through a lot of stuff. Your next nominee is from RE-ANIMATOR. It's Barbara Compton, who plays Megan Halsey, the dean's daughter. Tompkins, tell me what you think.
The dean's her daddy.
Yes, he is.
She makes that clear. I think that this is a solid performance.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's pretty serviceable. The movie doesn't ask a lot of her, but she also doesn't put a lot in it. This is pretty traditional girlfriend role.
The movie doesn't ask a lot of her. The movie asks her to lay down on a table naked while the guy takes his head off and puts it in between her legs.
This is the actress I feel most sorry for award.
Yeah,
like
she could
rocket
definitely
her
win
straight
that.
to the top.
That was horrifying to watch.
I think all 5 of these nominees get there close. Your next one, Mike, your next one is Hope Lang from Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Hope Lang is the friend of the girlfriend who throws the pool. No, who sits at the edge of the pool at the pool party in a bikini. I think we're gonna find out
Did she
through
do
a lot
the
of
dance, the weird non-dance dance?
maybe. We're gonna find out a lot through these finale episodes that there was not a lot of juicy parts for women.
Not a lot of support. Yeah, the 80s were all about the dudes.
Which is crazy because these women have so many juicy parts.
Tompkins,
not.
what the
It is
fuck,
truly
man?
not that kind of show.
Oh Jesus! I'm sorry,
You
Mike.
can do
I feel
the bra
disgusted.
thing.
I know.
And I can't do it.
I'm sorry because I know if Kate was here, she would have slapped that shit down. Like I'm just the guest Tompkins respects the least, so he feels like he could show off.
Hey, Mike,
Come
real quick.
on. I said it respectfully.
First of all, it's the movie's fault and society's fault that these women are not respected, and not our fault. But Hope Lang is actually the mom of the main character, and not a friend at all.
Then she does not do the weird dance. Yeah, moms are never friends, and if you think they are, they're tricking you. Moms are not your real friends. She does the mom role. She does nothing here, man.
So that was the dance. She does the mom roll.
Yeah.
Roll to
All
the
right.
left, roll to the right, pinch a little cheek, and say good night.
I'm just going to move on. Tompkins, from Phenomena, the next nominee is Daria Nicolodi, the mom of one fucked in the face son.
Nickelodeon.
I would be very surprised if this one won. I think middle of the pack. Did not do well, did not do bad. She simply was in the movie.
No,
She-
come on. she played schoolmarm very well. Like, she was severe, but like a different kind of severe than the other principal. Like, I never got whose role was what, but they were definitely different energies. She was like a slightly more nurturing severe. And then fully off the deep end, she was like, I gotta scare Jennifer, and feels like she went into the mirror, teased out her hair, and then just like started cackling, like, because she knows what to bring.
She went into the mirror, she took her top off and said, "Oh, remember these babies?" And then came out and did a bunch of coke and then chased after her.
She also changed since I was on it last.
Yeah.
Well, that's from Friday the 13th Part 5, where the waitress just goes into the mirror and says, "You can do this," and then just pulls her boobs out for no reason. I wasn't trying to be disgusting like Tompkins. The other problem with this performance, and this is the case with a lot of the performances, is like Daria Nicolodi is an Italian actress with a Swedish accent speaking in German with English subtitles over a like Swahili dub. Like, no one is speaking the same language in this movie, and that does make conversations clunky.
Yeah, it is true.
So does she get like a golfing handicap for that or something?
I think just look at how they all react in like the traditional art of clowning, and I think she actually nails that more than any of the other supporting actresses. And
I would say she fits in with the rest of the movie, right? It's all about handicapped people, and this is hers.
Aww.
And
Next.
speaking of this kind of show, Mike, your final nominee, and I feel like that you're responsible for this one, is Linnea Quigley, who plays Trash in Return of the Living Dead, a performance where she takes her clothes off and doesn't put them back on.
Why am I responsible for Trash?
Look at the two of us.
A question that answers itself.
So to the various levels of how Return of the Living Dead does and does not understand punks in the 80s, Trash is definitely one who like starts jerking off in the middle of the graveyard thinking about dying while the guy next to her is like, please don't make me think
The horny
about
punk
this.
is very real. It's a real phenomenon.
I'm going to say that's she's different than someone who is horny or a punk. I think that she has a lot of other issues going on, and she needs to speak to someone.
Well, she got freaking zombie disease, for one.
Well, now she does,
From the
yeah.
acid rain. She has the magic ability to suddenly find clothes when she's sick of being naked all the time.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Useful.
Your nominees are, one more time, Amanda Burst from Fright Night, Barbara Compton from Re-Animator, Hope Lang from Nightmare on Elm Street, Daria Nicolodi from Phenomena, and Linnea Quigley from Return of the Living Dead. Where do we think this is going?
Fright Night.
I'm gonna say Fright Night, yeah. And I was going to say it, even if Mike didn't.
Yeah, well, we'll never know, will we? And your winner is... It's Amanda Burst from Fright Night.
Yeah, we guessed right.
What? No way!
Do you think that
it's
you're
right
more
away, just
excited,
to Tompkins.
Tompkins? Do you think you're more excited than she is right now?
No way. Shit, this is the best night of her life. To win a Moody?
She won a Moody.
This is probably the only good night of her life. Come on.
Ouch.
All right. I guess. Let's take a break. Hose Tompkins down, and when we come back, we're going to kick another movie out of the bracket. Round 1, Battle 2. Your 4th seed, Fright Night, versus your 5th seed, Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Now, I do want to remind everyone that Letterboxd.com provided us with this seeding. But, Tompkins, do you want to explain real quick why this is such a fun little matchup right now?
These are the two movies that we talked about, like all gay stuff for them.
Basically all gay stuff. Yeah, we did. Mike,
And
as
very,
somebody who...
very, very well and nicely, I'll say. I think we did a good job. Only
did
the audience
such a-
can ultimately determine that, but I give us a pass.
Well, and we found experts to do it for us, so that's why we did a good job. Mike, without being on those two shows and without speaking to the experts of gay culture that we did, were you able to pick up on what these movies were putting down?
Are you including Taylor in that?
Yeah, I'll say self-professed gay culture expert Taylor Wilhite was on one of the shows.
Oh, he does profess that often. Yeah, I think I picked up on their subtleties, their nuance there. I think one was a little more subtle and nuanced and handled it better and more deftly, and in general is a more enjoyable film to watch. I don't know if that goes hand in hand. And then the other was Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
I think this is a great point to we texted about this a little bit, Mike, but we watched both Nightmare on Elm Street 2 and the documentary Scream Come a Queen. And we talked about there's that debate in the documentary about like the writing versus the performance and how that was the whole thing. I did not know, based on the documentary, although we speculated about it somewhat, that apparently I was talking to a different person I know who is like a queer horror fanatic, and they said that the writer has also since come out as gay, and that really makes a big difference, at least for the documentary, and how you read what is going on at the time, because the documentary phrases it like it's just this guy being completely callous. But if it's a closeted writer and a closeted performer, and they're like, there's sort of like blame being shifted back and forth, that's a very different dynamic that I also think is a lot more interesting than what the documentary gave us.
Yeah, I don't. The people who made the documentary, which was a lot of it was the lead of Nightmare, had a ton to do with it. He was the star, but also sort of like the writer in that way. The documentaries have writers, He did not seem very interested in anybody that wasn't himself and his own experience. But knowing that about like with the writer being straight or not having come out like how the documentary makes it seems like that he just thought that it was fun to like it was funny. Isn't it funny to have things be slightly gay? And then when you come at me at it, I'm going to get more defensive than ever. And so for him to instead be actually telling his story, hidden underneath a horror, not just a horror movie, but the second part of a hit horror franchise. It just makes everything make so much more sense.
Yeah, that makes it feel like no matter what movie he wrote next, it was going to be this allegory. And he just happened to get the good luck, bad luck that it was in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And so it was about and it makes it more sympathetic there to that he felt like a monster inside of him, because it's not like the movie makes Freddy sympathetic. Like the movie still is full on like, this guy's a monster.
Right. And and I don't think it makes like, I think it's easy to say that like homosexuality in general is the monster, but I think it's way more nuanced than that, sort of like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I think it's more like just feeling like there's a monster inside of you because that's what you're told by everyone around you is a lot better way to describe the movie.
Yeah, this is how kids those days felt. And probably not these
just
days.
Those days though. Just those days.
I think the world's getting better in some ways.
Yeah, okay. I think that in the bubbles that we're in, it definitely feels like it.
Yeah, let's stay in our bubbles.
Yes, do not leave our bubbles.
Oh God, I love my bubble.
We had bubbled up long before the pandemic, and we
Call
were
me
loving
Bubble
it.
Boy.
It's going up against Fright Night, and so this is like, this is the 4 or 5 seed. This is the closest battle as far as the numbers go. But before we get to Fright Night, I don't think that Nightmare was a truly terrible movie. I think that it was cheesy and it was awkward. Like it was definitely bumpy in the way that it tried to basically do everything, but it's so much closer to our upper movies than Friday the 13th, I think.
Oh yeah, worlds of difference. I think this one is perfectly seated. 5 seems like absolutely right. Like middle of the pack, maybe a slight like, the upper crust of the lower crust.
Yeah. I'd probably put it a little lower, but yeah, I mean, there were awesome scenes. The scene where is his friend Rob? Is that his friend's name? Where he's like, something's wrong, Rob. Like, and they're in Rob's bedroom, and the parents are on the other side. Like that is a legit good 80s horror scene. Like seeing like the anger. The kid is obviously in harms, and they're just like, Rob, open the goddamn door. They're only angry because they're shitty 80s parents. And then that turning into fear with the blood coming out of the door. All of that was pretty dope.
Yeah, I think that they definitely spent time on all of those set pieces, and they were thoughtful even with a budget that seems like it should have been way higher, but it just, New Line wasn't going to do it. It also stayed true to the monster in question. Like it felt like a true Freddy movie, even if it was a sort of diversion from the first one, as opposed to the Jason movie we watched. That again, ain't got no Jason.
Yeah, it has something that Friday the 13th Part 5 distinctly did not, which was at least one single redeeming quality.
All right, let's get to the other one then. The fourth seed is Fright Night. How'd this one, guys? Or let's start with you, Mike. How did this hit you? This is sort of in this weird comedy horror realm, but maybe not as broad as House. What'd you think?
I think if we're comparing to House, a movie that's not in this battle, I think the scares are scarier and the comedy is comedier. I fucking loved Fright Night.
Oh yeah,
Fright Night's great. I think Fright Night is something of the Denver Nuggets of this playoffs because it might take out someone a little bit higher seeded than it is.
You're gonna be so embarrassed when this actually comes out and the Denver Nuggets have been booted out of the playoffs.
They have been.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
But not before they took
out hockey.
Shit. So, Mike, you didn't know whether or not the Denver Nuggets have been booted out. Where are you podcasting from again?
Straight from Denver, Colorado, Ryan.
Yeah, okay. Way to support your fucking local sports team.
I got to tell you, I'm not sure why, but it feels like a little less communal than I was led to believe before I moved here. There's not a big community here. Nobody's really
not a lot of gathering together in public.
That's terrible.
To celebrate
that sucks.
Each other.
I would say the other thing, too, is that Fright Night was the truest surprise for me. Everything that I watched sort of lived up to its reputation more or less. But Fright Night was, I don't know, like it's been remade. And so that sort of speaks to the reputation. Like it's obviously, you're not going to remake something if it doesn't have a ton of fans already, but I still didn't know that much about it. I hadn't heard that much about it. And it was just like one of the truer delights from start to finish. Like even some of the better movies that we watched were still fucking hard to get through.
Yeah, this one, it's true popcorn film. And I got to say, the remake is a lot of fun. Anton Yelchin makes Charlie such a more fun character to watch go through the world instead of I hope any of these vampires fucking kill him, which is how
the late great, right?
Kind of feel about,
The late great, right?
And McLovin as Evil Ed is also, he's a little less grating, a little more human.
And also, I think that we're like, as far as Pop Filter goes, we are Colin Farrell supporters, right?
Yeah,
like,
and him, like he is our genera's Chris Sarandon. I've said that for a long time.
Sure, yeah.
We all agreed to write him in for the general election. I think that this movie also, this is something that came up in the main show. Well, I would say it's actually the side show bracket episodes is like Fright Night has a secret ingredient that a lot of these movies lack, which is like that true cocaine. 85 special sauce. This movie feels so 80s and so specifically 85 and in like the best ways. And I think that gives it a little bit of a turbo boost. In an entertaining way, as opposed to a lot of the other ways, which is like, fuck, why are we watching movies from 1985? This is awful. Yeah, because, I mean, you get a dash of Hughesian in Charlie high school life, and then there's like the 80s club scene that like After Hours had. Like it really does like, it doesn't matter if you want the suburbs or the big city. This movie will do it all. One last thing before we vote, because we're probably going to have to talk about Fright Night again. I'm just going to guess. It's the amount of ideas. It's Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, anew, Jason. Fright Night, the amount of ideas, because some of these movies are like, I've got one idea. And then the producers are like, nope, you don't. That's half an idea, but we'll greenlight it, and here's some money. And Fright Night is a vampire movie, but a suburb movie, and then to add in not just Evil Ed, like to be meta, 20 years before Scream, of have a horror expert in there, and not only that, but then in order to go get help, like the Three Amigos element, where we think the actors are actually like real and we're going to go get help from them and they're knowledgeable. That's a ton of shit to pack. And then all of the queer commentary and all the teenage stuff of I'm not really sure who I'm attracted to. That's a ton of stuff. I mean, that's like 5 movies that I just described when we're talking about the movies on the rest of the bracket. Yeah, so much stuff I loved growing up. I wish I had seen this because it was birthday. Like Scream, Gremlins 2 does that as well with the monster guy. Like it's so weird to like watch the origin of your DNA when you never had it. I just met my grandparent for the first time when I watched Fright Night. I'm so sorry, guys, to both of you. There was an opportunity for me to bring up Gremlins 2, the new batch, and I didn't. And Mike, thank you so much for swooping in there. I'm sorry. I just watched that for the first time like 3 or 4 days ago. The first time ever? Right? Yeah. Was it
Was it hard to see like the old school version of what we used to think about Trump in the movie?
Yes. Yeah, it's very and also it's so 80s in that it spends the first 75% of the movie being like evil corporation bad, and then completely forgets that, and for the last 25% is like, this guy's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, that's the story of America, man.
I spent my entire childhood, anytime I needed to sound smart, just trying to do that Tony Curtis gremlin voice of, well, civilization, let's talk about it, shall we? To me, that was the definition of what intellectual sounded like. All right,
I spent
guys.
my entire childhood, anytime trying to be sexy, just being the lady gremlin.
All right, we got to get to this. This might be the hardest of the first round. So try to think about it for a second. Tompkins, we're going to start with you. The 4th seed Fright Night versus the 5th seed Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 2.
Fright Night.
Mike?
Fright Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't want to make it.
Come on, that's too confusing.
It's Fright Night.
Okay, Fright Night moves on. But Nightmare, good showing. When we come back, we're going to do Best Supporting Actor. It's not fair that just the girls get a Best Supporting Award.
What about awards for men?
Your nominees for Best Supporting Actor of 1985 horror films. We're going to start with Tompkins. We're going to start with David Gale from Re-Animator. That's the guy whose head is in his hand.
Yeah, I think he does a pretty good job, all things considered. And on the open-minded rewatch that I did, I will say that a lot of his head work did stand out, and I was able to appreciate it more. I think he does a lot. There are some to me some weak moments in writing that maybe unfairly I hold against this character, because this is a character that I think just has a little bit more going on than it needs to, such as, for instance, the fact that he might be telepathic.
Yeah, no, he definitely is, and it's that just happens.
Don't think about it.
Mike, what did you like his head work, or did you prefer his angry itch?
I preferred the angry itch. I thought he did that very well. The body work is what I came to play with. To have a movie about dueling Dr. Frankensteins, for him to set his energy up different than the main character, I thought he did very well at that. Like, how can I be a different kind of arrogant, evil scientist? Yeah,
and I loved how he was clearly evil, clearly a villain. But it wasn't necessarily because of like mad scientists. It was like because teachers at colleges are dicks.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I know that guy.
He got drawn into mad science. He was already a prick who was lusting after somebody 50 years his junior that was his boss's daughter.
And telepathic.
And I don't think he was telepathic pre being headless. I do think if you survive a decapitation, maybe you get a little bonus. It's like Daredevil.
No, he definitely was, because there are several scenes early on where he, in a weird voice, sort of commands something to do something, and they're like, okay.
The dean, the father of the girl he's in love with, is the dean. That's his boss.
Yeah.
And he's just like, look into my eyes. You're feeling telepathed, and it totally works.
He's a moneymaker.
Your next nominee is from Fright Night, round 2 winner, or round 1 winner, round 2 component Fright Night. It's Stephen Jeffries, who played Evil Ed. Mike.
Dude, so Evil Ed is very annoying, right? But in that way that, you either knew and or were Evil Ed in middle school. I think he captured it.
Which is the case for Mike.
I was not nearly confident enough to be Evil Ed.
Mike was the guy jealous of Evil Ed.
Yeah, I wished I could be Evil Ed while I was just hanging out with the lunch ladies in the back.
When I grow up, I'm going to be Evil Ed.
I'm going to have half a mullet and a great memorable laugh.
And McLovin, Mike, you brought up that McLovin plays him, who probably has a real name in the remake, but McLovin is annoying in a way that movie characters are annoying.
Right.
Stephen Jeffries' performance is unlike anything I've ever seen. He is acting like an actual annoying kid, because I think that he is one. He wasn't performing. They were like, this kid's a spaz. Let's put him in the movie.
Yeah, every time the actor who played Charlie hit him, that was ad-libbed, because he was just sick of that kid's shit.
He has one of the best performance, the scene where he fakes getting hurt in the alley, an unbelievably annoying and just devastatingly evil thing to do to someone. And like, he does such a good job of making you feel that feeling of like, I've been lied to by a friend who embarrassed me, who weaponized my own empathy against me.
This is before he's a vampire, right?
It's
just before.
Yeah. So, but they know vampires are after them, and he's still the kind of prick who will fuck with his friends and pretend to be hurt.
I'm not sure he would have done that unless he knew that vampires were out, and it would have had the most effect.
The joke's got to hurt more.
I remember when I was this age, you know, we all thought that like girls they only existed to like take your friends away from you. But Amanda Burse, Moody Award winner Amanda Burse, saying that I fucking hate your friend Evil Ed. Can you get the fuck away from him? She's right on that one. She's not like just trying to be some controlling girlfriend. She's absolutely correct.
Yes.
Tompkins, the next nominee is Sherman Howard from Dawn of the Dead, who played Bub.
Amazing. I mean, we talked about this with Kate. Bub is great. And like the fact that someone playing a zombie is on this at all is like a pretty good indication by itself of like what a great performance this is.
Yeah, the slow learning and his excitement when he's told he did a job well done, like he's Dr.
Does that make you think that you might be a zombie?
Yeah. I learned slow, and I get so excited when I learn how to press play on my Walkman. And then, like, again, like, it's always stilted. There's always, like, a filter he has to push his motions through. And his hurt of seeing Dr. Logan dead and his anger when he puts together who did it, all of that, fucking awesome.
Yeah, and a lot of these movies, you can feel people that are upset about their limited screen time and then just swing for the fences. And this performance didn't, you know? He didn't have that time where he was like slamming his hand against his head or his head against the window and just screaming, trying to like, I don't know, maybe get nominated for a real award and not just a Moody. He played it straight like a zombie would the entire time.
I do wonder if he loved killing the guy in that movie who was doing that the whole time. That the commander of that army base was acting like he was going to get an Oscar nomination for it.
I mean, he's the only overactor in that movie that I think it worked. I liked his overacting in that, but it is overacting.
Speaking of, Mike, the next nominee is James Karen from Return of the Living Dead, who played Frank. That's the guy in the very beginning who is training the young kid.
Yeah.
And then, it just basically freaks out for the entire movie. Him and his friend, or him and his young trainer, they get the disease and sort of slowly die throughout the movie.
Yeah, Frank has like this really sad... He's just like a good dude teaching this punk kid how to like get by in the world. He wants to be a little cool, so he's like, check out these army bodies. And then turns into a Three Stooges character for 2/3 of the movie, but at the end, like, Freddy just embraces being a zombie, and Frank is like, I'm just gonna go kill myself. Like, I was so surprised how slapstick he was for most of the movie, how touching his death was.
Yeah, it's for most of the movie, he's doing basically comedic relief, and then right at the end, he pulls it out with a little bit of the real acting.
That fucking movie, man.
I loved this performance. This is one of my favorite of all 8 movies. Because right away in the beginning of the movie, not only is he responsible for setting the tone, but he also does such a great job of, he's that guy that we've all met, like maybe it's like an uncle or a friend of a dad or whatever, who's just like, oh, I bet you're getting kisses from all the girls. Or like, he'll fart and he'll be like, oh, what is there? Is there a barking spider in here? And just like laugh his butt off at the things he says.
Old guy who wants to be looked up to.
Yeah, but has no reason. He gives you no reason to look up to him. He just wants it to happen.
We mentioned this in the episode, but the fact that he has to do that entire like backstory monologue and then end it with being like, anyways, I want to go see a zombie, and makes that work is really impressive.
And that monologue, by the way, is Night of the Living Dead, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's describing that what happened in that movie is real and happened in the world of this movie.
Yeah. He's pulling a lot of work.
Tompkins, the final nominee is from Fright Night. It's Roddy McDowall. It's the actor that they bring onto the team.
Roddy McDowall is great. I think he has a strong shot of winning this as well. One scene that it's just so small. I again also mentioned this in the episode, but it's just like one of those like lovely details that shows you like everyone is paying attention and trying to make everything as good as they can. But when you see him on his show on TV in the movie, and the very first time you see him, he's lunging at a vampire with a stake, but the stake is backwards in his hand, is so good. And he really carries that energy throughout the entire movie. He is like half bumbling, half wizened.
Uh-huh.
And you just never quite know which version of him is going to show up at any moment.
Kind of like the perfect counterpoint to Frank, in that, does want to be respected. Isn't. When the movie starts, he's being told that he isn't because his show's getting turned off. But instead of going hard after that respect like Frank would, but has no reason, like, he's scared of it, He runs away from it. It freaks him out when you're like,
it's not
wait,
real.
why would you like me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to know, like, what the first film that showed that actors are really just simpy shits. Because, like, he does that so well. Like, he's Guilfoyle Lockhart in that wizard film we're not allowed to talk about anymore. But, like, it's just, like, so many different versions of this guy have been around since then, and he crushes it.
Actually, as of this recording, Eddie Redmayne came out and said we're being mean to J.K. Rowling, so now we're all back on her side, I guess.
No, I think that just means we're going to be all mean to Eddie
Does
Redmayne. We're going to whisper and then scream in his face.
Does one Eddie Redmayne cancel out the three actors in the much more popular movies?
Well, Eddie Redmayne did play a man who started to transition into a woman, so
Which famously you cannot do and be problematic about.
Yeah. God damn it, Redmayne, you've done it again. All right, guys, your nominees are David Gale from Re-Animator, Stephen Jeffries from Fright Night, Sherman Howard from Day of the Dead, James Karen from Return of the Living Dead, and Roddy McDowall from Fright Night. I gotta say, strong group.
Yeah.
Where do we think we're going here?
I think, knowing us, and I'm including myself in us, that I'm guessing is Bub.
Yeah. Tompkins?
And I'm back. I say Roddy McDowall.
Roddy McDowall. All right. The envelope, please.
Ooh, it sounds so much more physical this time.
It's Roddy McDowall from Fright Night.
Yeah, 2 for 2.
Shit. I thought it was
So
Bub
Fright
for
Night,
sure.
2 for 2.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. What does that mean?
Is this a Fright Night kind of night, Fright? We'll find out later, but not in the next segment when we talk about two movies that are not called Fright Night. Round 1, Battle 3. Your third seed is Return of the Living Dead. Your sixth seed is House. Guys, the three of us talked about House for a long time. Do you want to talk about it some more?
Let's talk about House.
That feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
I've had 3 kids since then.
God, one of those days. I've had no, I can't. I
Yeah.
He just thought about having kids and zoned out.
yeah.
I think he was going to make a joke about how when I say I've had kids, it means that I have had sex with the kids. I think he was going to say something like that.
Honestly, it wasn't even that well formed. I was just going to like fuck somehow with the phrasing of and I instantly turned over 50 ways to do it, and all of them were just pedophile jokes. So I was trying to opt out, and there was nothing. I worked myself immediately into a dead end.
That was Paul Simon's first draft of 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, and the studio said, "There's no way in hell."
Come on, man.
And that's why it's such a nonsense song.
Yep. Like Tutti Frutti.
So, right, so
Tutti Frutti.
Which
just 50
famously
ways would be
was-
like throw some candy down the street or
Yeah, look,
have
if-
the ice
if-
cream truck drive
If
by.
his studio said don't do it, I don't think that means we should try to do it.
Round robin, here we go.
The
Let's see if we
joke
can
I
knock
was
out all
thinking
50.
about your kids is that obviously they would look like those rubber monster kids from House.
Oh, yeah.
The chimney kids?
Yeah, you're definitely having a couple of chimney kids in your life, Ryan.
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking hate the chimney kids.
I know you do.
All right, so House gave us what was supposed to be like the comedy version of this year, and I thought that it's famous enough where maybe it invented some things. But doing some research, we had horror comedy and much better horror comedy for a long time at this point. House.
Yeah, Abbott and Costello. Meet the Monsters.
Abbott meets Costello.
Abbott meets Costello. That was crazy.
That was a big moment.
House was the first of the season, I believe, and so I remember being pretty defensive of it and be like, "You guys are wrong. This is a good old time of the movies. It's the '80s. Chill out." And then watching the rest of them, like, "Oh no, there's quality in the '80s. You should probably grade House a little lower than you did originally."
You had to calibrate your grading.
You got to calibrate your grading.
Yeah.
I've been watching lots of 80s horror outside of 85 as well, and it has I got time to watch a movie. It has the same effect. Like it's not bad, but it is not a cult classic. It's not particularly memorable. It's just a movie that was on the Sci-Fi Channel all the time when you were growing up. Like, get over yourself. Stop.
Have you watched House 2?
I have not.
Because that I do legit think is the famous cult one. There's
really?
Singing Pizza. There's the different rooms take you to different worlds.
Is it a Gremlins 2 scenario?
I've seen House before. I have once. I've seen House 2 a bunch.
Yeah. Is it a Gremlins 2 scenario then, where they're like, let's do this and actually make it fun?
Yeah, it's somebody who's like, not even I see seeds of your idea. In your pitch, I see seeds of your idea, and I'm just gonna go do that.
I will say, too, and I think that this speaks a lot to, if I can just talk shit on them, Tompkins, your whole, it was on the Sci-Fi Channel all day theory. Mm-hmm. Mike, every time that Tompkins and I would have a guest on here, we'd either on air or off air go over the bracket and be like, so what'd you think of these other movies? And everyone was like, House! Yeah! House! I loved House! And we just looked at each other like, that fucking piece of shit, idiot.
And that's why I'm on here, because only I was brave enough to do that on air.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Yeah, I mean, how it's totally, it's middle of the pack to me. I think it's, if you need to kill an hour and a half, throw on House, but it's not a mind blowing movie.
I think to me it's a lot lower than halfway through the pack because, in this, like, I know I just said that Fright Night was great because of all the ideas. House has the same amount of ideas, but it fucking ruins the movie. Like,
well, execution matters too.
Yeah.
I guess you can't just throw all the ideas in a blender and hope it comes out okay. But when we think about House, we think about like tools flying around, and a lot of like Sam Raimi ripoff stuff. But do you guys remember the last 20 minutes when he was just in this dark purgatory running around? Like,
yeah.
There's a lot to it, and it's all stupid.
You can't introduce that there's been a secret main villain in the last 20 minutes of your movie. That really should build up slowly. Like, you should have a logic of your haunted house.
Well, if you're going to do that, then have at the beginning of House, have somebody like kill the fat son of that person, and then we can all connect it.
I think that this is a movie like...
All right, the other movie that it's going against is Return of the Living Dead. And this is a movie that was pretty notorious, like I'd heard a lot about. A lot of the interesting stuff about this movie is the backstory about how two co-creators of a very famous movie were allowed to use certain words from the title, right? Like you can use of the dead and you can use living dead, and then now everybody go and make their own movies. It's not Night of the Living Dead, and it's definitely different than Day of the Dead. But does Return of the Living Dead's own sort of essence, did it work for you guys?
Yeah, I like this movie a lot. I think it's a strong contender.
Yeah, I think so. Like what George Romero took for the Of the Dead series was like commentary and how can I make each one of my zombie movies talking about a different thing that's going on in the American psyche. And Dan O'Bannon was like, hey, remember, George, when zombies were fun? Fuck you. I'm going to go make zombies fun again. And it's crazy to me that like everybody knows Brains, but Return of the Living Dead has kind of gone away, and George Romero's Rules of Zombies has kind of taken hold. And I wish Return of the Living Dead and O'Bannon got way more credit than they generally do in the mainstream.
Yeah.
This is fun as shit. So
many zombie tropes came directly from this movie. It was, in terms of like zombie mythos, just as important as George Romero's stuff in the long run, especially. And it gets in a lot of commentary. Like this movie is, we talked about it. It's a very like Cold War movie, and it has a sense of like foreboding doom that fits well with like the year.
And then it actually, like, it has that sense, and then it fucking cleans up on it. Like, it actually gives you what you promised. You know, if this was any other genre or any higher of a budget, focus groups would have come in and said, "Oh, I don't like the ending, change the ending." But because this is a, low budget horror movie, they gave this sense of doom throughout the movie, and then like the end is fucking crazy. It's full of that doom.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think blended the goofiness that a lot of the movies try for, blended the goofiness and just real human moments. Surprising. I was more surprised in this movie. Anytime somebody acted like a real human and there was emotion, I was like, really? In Return of the Living Dead?
Including Miguel A. Nunez Jr.
Especially Miguel Nunez Jr. Not including.
I love the fact that... Go ahead, Tompkins.
I was going to say, it is cool to have this and a Romero movie in the same bracket, because it is like, sometimes it's fun after you go and revisit Blink-182 to then listen to a little bit of Plus 44 and then a little bit of Angels and Airwaves and be like, this is them without completing each other,
You're really going to burn Boxcar Racer like that? Fuck you.
Boxcar Racer, totally different deal.
The best of all three of the side bands.
I was so nervous that this podcast was too niche, and then you guys, no, it's actually compared to what they're capable of. It's fine. But yeah, Tompkins, what I was about to say is that 85 gave us not just that, Romero and O'Bannon split, but it gave us an example of both in the same year. And it sort of taught us that we don't have to fight about which one's better. We can have them both, except for what we're doing tonight, which is fighting over which one is better.
Yeah,
so
I would love if they came directly up against each other. That would be a tough one, I think.
I think it would prove that there was a God.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's see who's going to pick House. And I do think that when you guys pick House, I think it's a foregone conclusion. It's because of the night that the three of us spent together discussing it, and maybe not so much about the movie.
Yeah. The memories.
Yeah, there's definitely like relationships I look upon fondly because of that first magical night, and not because of the horrors beneath.
Yeah. I mean, House the movie, but oh, those house nights.
Night.
Good for us. All right, Mike, I believe you're up first. Your number three seed is Return of the Living Dead. Your number 6 seed is House.
It is hard for me to think of a movie more genetically designed for me than Return of the Living Dead.
Punks in the 80s with zombies, Mike.
Come on, that is, again, what I base my entire personality on growing up.
Also, you're also one of those guys who finds the first opportunity to take off their clothes and then will not put them back on.
No matter how much acid rain burns down upon me.
Tompkins, Return of the Living Dead or House?
I vote Return of the Living Dead.
All right, guys, we have gone chalk so far. I guess that's not surprising, but I'm not sure if that'll happen in the second round. When we come back, we're going to do the ultimate in supporting performance awards, Best Comedic Performance. Your next nominee is your next award is Best Comedic Performance, which I would say, although not all of these were comedy, horror comedy, almost every one of these movies had some comedic element or was worse for it. Yeah?
Yeah, they had a comedic element or tried to have a comedic element.
I'm trying to think of one that would like really kept it straight the entire time. Phenomenon, maybe?
I mean, probably the closest would be Day of the Dead.
No, I mean that's the most serious, almost serious movie made by George Romero. But then he put 2 of the fucking 3 hyenas from Lion King in it on purpose.
Yeah, I mean the question was what's the most, so I answered that.
Yeah, I think it is Phenomena. I think
Phenomena seems to have no sense of humor.
The monkey,
which is why it's hilarious. No, that monkey is hard hitting, man.
That monkey should have been voiced by Tony Curtis as a gremlin, basically. All right. Mike, the first nominee is from House. House getting a nomination. It's All of the Tools.
Good. I was terrified to be George Wendt, who really phoned it in here.
Let me tell you this right now. George Wendt, comedian superstar, hot off Cheers, not nominated for Best Comedic Performance tonight.
He didn't try. He was just sweaty. These tools, man, they got timing. They got how to knock on a door and just hover. They were the fucking best part of House.
I mean, and talk about, I mean, to be funny, right? You need to have a bag of tricks, or you could say a bag of tools. And these ones have it all. They got the shear for doing the snippy. They have, I think there was a shovel, right?
Yeah.
What else?
A scythe.
A scythe. All the classic shit you've got hanging around your house.
All the shit that you have in your suburban tool shed.
Yeah, hanging
like
up
a scythe.
next to your scuba gear.
It was great. Tompkins, the next nominee is Jeffrey Combs from Re-Animator.
Great. Obviously, a strong contender, if not a favorite. I mean, we talked about the pencil snapping.
He breaks 2 pencils.
That is some dick swinging move.
It is a ridiculous gravitas to the role. It really works.
It's crazy that there's an actor out there that met Crispin Glover in real life and went, "Oh, I'll just do that in a movie," because that is that energy for sure.
He also, I will say, in the From Beyond, which came out in '86 and is the same actor and the same director, he goes through a lot in that, and is, I think, also the highlight of that movie as well. I'm surprised he didn't have more of a horror movie career.
Yeah, even if it was just like, those legacy roles you get when people have heard of you, and so they just want you to be in their movie. Like. How many horror directors were making movies in the 90s and even aughts that weren't inspired by Re-Animator? Like, put Jeffrey Combs in your fucking movie, dude. Have him break 3 pencils and see if that is too many pencils to be broken.
Too many. It's too many, bro.
Mike, your next nominee, a 2-time nominee tonight at the award show, is Stephen Jeffries. It's Evil Ed from Fright Night.
It's the charm of Evil Ed and Stephen Jeffries, Ryan, you pointed out earlier, is that we're all just pretty sure this is Stephen Jeffries' real personality. And so it's comedic in that way. Like, you truly can drive everybody nuts. I mean, at least he makes himself laugh.
Yes. He does do that.
Often.
Also, are they even friends? It feels like so often that they really don't like each other.
That is
that's friendship.
That is sort of a realistic part of the movie, is that, like, oftentimes in high school, you'll have someone where it's like, we're not friends. You're just the only other person that won't beat me up.
Yeah, you're also a dork, so I guess I'll hang out with you. And hopefully you have a Sega Genesis.
We're in the same carpool, or maybe the moms are friends, or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how often he made me laugh, though.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Never. His long dying.
That was hilarious.
Yeah, he was a strong contender for Best Supporting. I don't think he's a strong contender for Best Comedic.
Crush him.
Speaking of Best Supporting, we got another repeat here. Tompkins, it's James Cameron from Return of the Living Dead. It's Frank again here for Best Comedic Performance, where I think this is actually maybe a better category for him than Best Supporting Actor.
Yes, I agree, because he carries the humor of that movie a lot more than he carries the emotion.
The funniest fucking part of Frank is apparently there's backstory. There's some sort of rivalry between the medical supply store and the mortuary, but he hates the guy who owns the mortuary. It does not explain why, but just the vitriol that he's like, hey, that guy, and he's like, you're gonna owe me a favor, and he's like, why would you fucking promise? Like there's so much crazy shit going on, but he's so pissy that the shopkeep next door has something over on his boss.
Well, this all takes place in one dirty alleyway that has all of the dirty alleyway type businesses, right?
Yeah,
like it's mortuary, it's like taxidermy, it's baseball card store,
storage.
It's zombie store. Your final nominee, Mike, is, and I feel like you've been waiting for this moment for all night, Mike. It's Richard Liberty from Day of the Dead. Dick Libs.
Is he the big hyena or the little hyena?
He's the doctor. He's the doctor who hangs out
Logan.
with Dr. Logan.
Okay, so he's actually funny. George Romero thought those two would be funny, and this guy, this is who I want to grow up to be. Is there food? I'm covered in blood. You are all obviously pointing at guns each other in front a second ago.
Yeah.
Is there food? And just like how calm he delivers that line.
Yeah.
Well, I think part of it is he not only is the character in a different place than everyone else, right? Like, he feels like that everybody else is like in this bunker where he's in a lab. and they just happen to be in the same location. But he's in a different movie as well. He's in a differently toned movie, and I still think it works. His performance, I think, is fucking out there in something that the movie desperately needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, like, covers that mad scientist in a different way, where he is so attuned to his work, and there's no real, if there's any glimmer of arrogance, it's just that they truly do not understand. And he has picked up on, if we're going to survive, this is the only way to do it. But it sounds so crazy, nobody can buy into it, so he looks down on them.
Yeah, I gotta say, if the Oscars, God forbid, ever decided to do a Best Comedic Performance award, it would be full of, like, the stupidest bullshit of all time, because it would always be someone who's
Viggo Mortensen in Green Book.
Yeah, yeah, it would be like someone
Viggo Mortensen in A History of Violence.
Viggo Mortensen and Return of the King. It would always be a very serious overall movie, but someone like makes a couple cracks or something like that because the Oscars are so up their own butt. But
you know who it would always be, and I love this person. I fucking truly love this person. But it would be Joan Cusack every year.
Yeah,
Joan Cusack would be in like 2 scenes of one Oscar movie and would get the award 12 years in a row.
Yep. But that said, I do think that it's hard not to give characters who show that they can do dramatic as well, like a little bit of an edge. And one thing about this guy is that there's like the whole arc with him and Bub that has some real like meat to it. And even though that part isn't specifically funny, somehow feels like it kind of makes the funny parts better.
One of the things that some of these movies have in common is that when they go to cast a lot of these like side roles, when it comes to like older people, they're casting people who have been working for 60 years in Hollywood on movies and TV. Like, Tompkins, we haven't even talked about Kluge Luger yet, who was in two different... Kluge Luger has been in 2 different 85 movies. And he's just like James Cameron, just like Richard Liberty, they're just like Hope Lang, the mom from Nightmare 2. They were never big time stars, but the directors, the writers, and the like producers, they had grown up with these people, and like, look, this like almost it makes us feel like we've legitimized our thing. Yeah, that like we can get this person. You know, a lot of nominees here are that. Yeah. So
I gotta say, Kluge Luger not nominated for this, but when we get to the Best Kluge Luger award, I think he has. I mean, he's practically a shoo-in.
Ooh, somebody else is a pretty good Kluger.
I can't believe that you think that Kluge Luger has a chance of even beating Kluge Luger when clearly it will be Kluge Luger. All right, gentlemen, your nominees are All of the Tools from House, Jeffrey Combs from Re-Animator, Stephen Jeffries from Fright Night, James Cameron from Return of the Living Dead, and Richard Liberty from Day of the Dead. Where do we think we're going?
Tools.
I think Richard Liberty's got the heat on this one.
It feels like it, right? It feels like we really want to give it to him.
We did talk about him for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And your winner is...
That's me eating up the envelope.
Jeffrey Combs from Re-Animator.
That is shocking. I love when we can shock ourselves.
That is not shocking, and if you think it's shocking, I'm going to break a fucking pencil right in your face.
And I shall break a second pencil.
No, you son of a bitch. Now that's fighting words.
Do you guys know how you can tell stuff is dated? Is in the 80s, apparently that's how you broke a pencil, but in the 90s, you would put it in between your middle 3 fingers and then slam your hand on your desk, and that's how you would snap a pencil.
That sounds painful.
Well, I guess if you're a fucking wuss.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Re-Animator for not being Fright Night. Yeah. So Fright Night is not going to sweep all of the awards tonight. When we come back, our final battle of the first round. Gentlemen, the final battle of the first round. Your number 2 seed is Day of the Dead. Your number 7 seed, I bet you guys can't even guess. I bet you can't even think of the one movie that we have not talked about yet.
Is it one Phenomenon?
I'm sorry, are you saying Phenomenon, the John Travolta has superpowers movie?
No, I'm saying Phenomenon,
Michael.
the album by 1,000 Foot Crutch, the Christian rap rock band.
What? Like more than POD?
Way more Christian, yeah.
Just not way more.
I would
way
say
more Christian, way less rap.
I would say way more rap.
But
they're
they
bad.
never felt so alive.
Mike, Tompkins and I had a chance. I'm going to move on. This is bullshit. Mike, Tompkins and I had a chance to talk to you about Phenomena yet?
Have you had a chance to talk about Phenomena yet?
With you. Have you told us your feelings on it?
I have not told you my feelings on it.
Do you guys want to hear something crazy before Mike answers a question that I clearly asked him and gave him time to speak? And then as soon as he started, then I talked. Each of us got to pick a movie to be in the bracket. We let Letterboxd choose the top 5 seeds. And then, Mike, you chose House for the 6th seed.
Mm-hmm.
I chose Phenomena for the 7th seed. And I do not know why at this point. And Tompkins, the 8th seed you chose, it was Friday the 13th, Part 5. We could have not fucking watched that movie.
Stupid bastard.
You're welcome.
Didn't realize that.
You're welcome.
I think each of those picks kind of reveals something about a personality. Ryan wants to be artistic, but is inevitably kind of a failure. I think I'm funny, and I'm not at all. And
you're
Tompkins
a tool.
And Tompkins has to pick last, and there's no good options anyway.
Tompkins is just a goddamn mess.
The structure of the movie of Friday the 13th Part 5 resembles the structure of Tompkins' life, basically.
Certainly my inner life.
And your obsession with mall food court food.
Malk
and
food
Malk.
Court food.
Yeah, Tompkins is the problem here, Mike. Way to go. Guys,
sorry I stuttered once, just like our soon-to-be president, you assholes.
I was really hoping that this was the segment where we didn't talk about Friday the 13th Part 5, but unfortunately one of the three of us brought it up, and I hope they're sorry. Mike, Phenomena, did you watch it? Did you love it? Did you love the music?
Dude, listen to the episode. You guys talked about how atonal the music was, like it had no idea what was going on. I was like, surely that cannot be correct. And oh my god, it really does. It feels like while somebody was editing a film, their neighbor played their fucking music too loud, and it got on the movie. Like it had zero connection to what was going on.
Or like one of those things where I don't know. This seems like a hipster bar kind of thing, but you play a movie on the screen, you have a band. And instead of playing the music, you just have Gwar. You have Gwar come in and just play. Gwar just plays whatever the fuck they want. They're not looking at the screen. They've never seen the movie before. They just Gwar it up.
Yeah. After the first half of this movie, you could have played any song over any of the scenes in there, and it would no longer have fazed me.
Nope.
And talking about humor, intentional or otherwise, we definitely talked off the show about how fucking nuts the music goes as she's reaching for that glove.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the glove that's like in a bush, and the music is crazy intense.
It's like 1 a.m. It's completely silent in the non-diegetic diegetic sound. What you could do is you could help it almost sound quieter by adding music that even though you're adding sound, you still make it feel like it's even quieter than it actually is. And instead, they bring in 13 guitar players to fucking mosh against each other and slam the keys of each other's guitar.
If music is supposed to show the emotions of a character, it makes me feel like I've never reached for a glove in a bush the right way. I've never felt that intense.
I'm doing this.
Do you know why, Mike? It's because every time you do it, you have AirPods in instead of 2 Bose speakers taped to your head. That's how you should do it next time.
That's the issue.
What a movie.
It is. Yeah. I will say one of the most terrifying, just because of how fucking gross it is, when she's in that soup, when she's in body soup, that is the nastiest thing we've seen out of any of the movies.
One of my least favorite
It's called
soups.
New England clam diarrhea.
and the whole and this is why I think the woman could have gotten this Best Supporting Actress, why I think it's fine she's nominated. When Connelly's reaching to try to climb out and she just does the evil person stomp on the fingers, it looked like she really stomped on that poor girl's fingers. Like
the Irishman.
It was horrifying.
I mean, Jennifer Connelly's fingers really got worked over.
Yeah, between the monkey and that lady. But also, I don't know if anybody's talked about the tool enough. The murder tool is like a tent pole with a knife on the end of it. And so we're supposed to believe this little 4-toothed kid put that together every time before he killed somebody?
Kid. The movie was trying to talk about how disabled people are just as strong as we are. And sometimes that's for bad and sometimes that's for good. I can't believe that we talked about, I think it was Fright Night and what was the other one? Fright Night and House as these two movies that have a ton of ideas, and one executes them good and one executes them bad, and left out Phenomena. 7 or 8 different movies all rolled into one batshit diarrhea
I
stew.
do have a bone to pick, or maybe not a bone to pick, just like clarification, because in the Phenomena episode, which was phenomenal, you guys talked about how there were 2 serial killers, and I was looking for that the whole time, and I couldn't, other than the mole rat kid, I could not find who the second killer was.
His mom.
Yeah, it's the kid
Jason
and his mom.
Style.
Yeah.
It's Psycho, and Jason.
Oh, okay. That's
It's
fine.
the mama. It's the opposite of
who's
the
the dude?
dinosaur baby.
Who's
That's
the dude?
Mike. I'm like, just to be clear, I'm not gonna give you that much shit because I think Simone was the guest on that one, Simone Norman, and we told her that like 8 or 9 times in the episode. She could
But
not
that's not a
remember those are the
good.
2.
Yeah, that's not a good boat to be in.
Well, I just tune out Simone. So, who was the dude who the mom had chained up at the end? We just
cop.
don't know.
The cop
detective.
that is like, oh, a scar on your boobs. Should I get in there and paw at it a while?
What?
Yeah. When he meets her, he's like, oh, I see you have a big scar on your chest there. Should I just like get in there like I'm making hamburger helper?
Oh, he deserves to be chained out then. That's fine.
Yeah.
Coincidence? I think not. The mascot for Hamburger Helper is a glove,
Yes.
which is stuck in the trees, which makes loud music.
Just a glove cranking goblin.
I am not sure that this has any chance to go up against Day of the Dead, a movie that I actually think, Mike, Day of the Dead was our first episode with Kate, and then you came in for the second episode.
I
with
just
Alex.
assumed I was the first episode.
Yeah, that's sort of how your solipsism works. But is Day of the Dead just moving on because Phenomena is a big bottle of bullshit?
And because Day of the Dead has interesting bullshit.
I like Day of the Dead. I think that it has very forgivable flaws, and that it is saying and doing interesting things. It is very different from the previous 2 Romero zombie flicks, but I think that it's different in an interesting way because it's tackling something different. And those are both, the first movie feels like it's about American racism. The second movie feels like it's about American consumerism. This is like about not even necessarily American, but just like it's more like nihilistic. It's more like big picture. It's more zoomed out, and I think he alters the tone of a lot of what's happening to fit that, and so it does make it less of like a fun zombie romp. But I think it's doing cool stuff, and like once you get over the big performances, I think it has a lot to offer. So I think it's a mixture. I would be surprised if Day of the Dead took it all down, but I think there are a lot of movies on here that it stands a fighting chance against.
I honestly wouldn't be that surprised. Like, based on all of our sensibilities and the way that the brackets often work, Tompkins, is that it's everybody's second favorite comes in first. So yay, we're all stoked about that. But I wouldn't be that surprised because it's a well-made movie, and it's got a lot of things that the three of us like. And it, like you said, Tompkins, it's got a lot of things that the three of us are okay ignoring. As far as flaws go. And I think that at least me and you, Tompkins, I don't know about you, Mike, we had the added bonus of not seeing this when it first came out. You know, like in 85.
I saw it when it came out, yeah.
Everybody wanted that, third movie. Everybody loved Dawn of the Dead, and they were disappointed by it because it wasn't the same as that. And we don't give a shit about that. We watched it way later, and that doesn't matter to us at all.
Yeah, there's less zombie horror. It's so obvious that he got like older and more angry, and that comes out through this movie. And he's like, wait, maybe people are awful and won't help each other out. Maybe they'll all get each other's way. And it does.
Is it about Dan O'Bannon? Is he the awful person?
It might be about Dan O'Bannon. And it does feel like this is what The Walking Dead, the comic book, lifted the most from the "What if we are the monsters?" Because the first 2 weren't really that.
Yeah.
Or not as obvious, not as
obvious.
much as a plot point, instead of like it was closer to like symbolism.
Not as everybody watching this wants to hang out with Bub more than they want to hang out with fucking any of the military guys.
Well, he knows how to turn on a Walkman, so
He
knows how to party. All right, I'm gonna call this as much as fun as it is. I honestly want to do a show about Phenomena right now with the three of us. but we don't have time. So
I would love to do a phenomena versus phenomenon. Let's see. Let's really figure out which has more
Versus
merit.
Phenomenon, the album by Thousand Foot Crunch.
the
Crunch.
Christian rap group.
Yes.
Okay.
The song Phenomena, I could probably rap a good chunk of it if you'd like me to. Is that?
I would love you. Let's play that over the credits.
It's the chorus goes down. Here comes the sound. Let me show 'em all how you move to this phenomena.
Yeah,
Mike,
And then
your
there's
number
it's
two.
all about that.
Mike, your number 2 seed is Day of the Dead. Your number 7 seed is Phenomena. What do you think?
I think it is the Day of the Dead.
Tompkins, I want you to vote in the style of 1,000 Foot Crutch rapping.
Okay. This is a movie. It's really good, and it is bad when the phenomenon is a movie too. And so the one that wins is the Day of the Freaking Dead, and it is going on. And down here comes the sound.
Here comes
You
the
get
sickness.
parody.
All right, so we are going chalk in the first round, and the only time that we didn't all three agree with each other is when Tompkins just voted for Friday the 13th for no fucking reason.
Because it was his pick. Obviously, it was
I
a
am
political vote.
Agent of Chaos.
That's going to do it for the first part of the finale. So our final 4 is Reanimator, Fright Night, Return of the Living Dead, and Day of the Dead. I'm pretty sure not a lot of surprises there.
0.
But at a certain point, some of those movies are going to have to go away, and that's when it's going to get tough. Also, guys, next week we're going to do Best Actor and Best Actress, a couple of other awards, including Best Horror Scene, which I feel like is the ultimate award that we're going to do.
Can I
Mike
say
and Tompkins,
something?
thank you so much for coming on. And Tompkins, yeah, go ahead and
Don't
say
tell
something.
him. Oh, no.
I want to say, listeners, you out there, you're listening to this. Maybe you're on your way to work, or you go to shower and put this on, whatever it is.
Hey,
I
be with
wanna
your, that's
say-
15 seconds from your bed to your shower. Just be okay with that silence, guys.
Or maybe you work in a shower.
Oh, I didn't want to discriminate. So,
Maybe you
Yeah.
work in a bathhouse, like Spirits.
Yeah, whatever it is. Thank you. You listen to the whole episode and probably the whole season. You'll probably listen to the next one. And that is cool to me. Catch you on
And
the
the-
flip side.
Listeners, let me
Tompkins
point
out.
out that Tompkins thanked you and Mike did not.
Yes.
Hey,
So-
listeners. this
Well,
is
no,
my
actually, Mike, we
season.
got to go. We got to
Go
go.
fuck yourself.
Bye, bye, bye now.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.